You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
What a beautiful day for horses in the morning.
You are listening to the #1 horse podcast in the world. Here is your entertaining look at the horse world and the people in it.
I'm Glenn the Geek.
And I am Allison Renborg, coming to you hoarsely from the Horse Radio Network booth 207 at Equine Affaire in Ohio.
That's what happens on the last day of Equine Affaire. And you're listening to Horses in the Morning on the Horse Radio Network for Sunday, April 14th, episode 3409. This episode is brought to you by Spalding Labs.
It's time for the Equine Affaire episode, North America's premier equine expo and equestrian gathering.
Well, we're back on our final day of a terrific weekend here. Yesterday was packed.
It was a wonderful day, and the weather was gorgeous.
Oh, it was the first non-rainy day I've had all week.
Exactly. That's
beautiful.
Why.
And it was packed. I mean, the people came out. I was thinking, are they going to stay home and ride because it's been such bad weather? Nope, they came here to spend money.
Yep, to spend money and to ride here. Yeah.
I'm going to have a listener on a little bit later who in the show who got to ride with Philip Dutton, but she also spent more money than probably most people in the whole place put together. So we're going to find out what she bought. But how are you hanging in there? How are you holding up?
You know, I feel great. My throat is just complaining about all the dust I've been inhaling. It sounds like I've been screaming my heart out, doesn't it? No, I feel good, and I'm just really glad it's Sunday, and tomorrow, Monday, I get to drive home to my little girl, so what could be better?
You've done a terrific job with all the social media for this show. I've been keeping an eye on the page and, checking out all the videos and stuff. You've done a terrific job.
You think social media, that's easy. No, it really ain't. I'm going to say ain't, okay? It's really not. So thank you, Glenn. That means a whole lot to me.
No, you've done a great job with it.
Thank you.
And that's why you have the job you do.
That's why I work here. That's why Kogi said, you want this? Do you want this?
Now she can't get rid of you. You're just too good.
Exactly.
Well, this is the final day. We're going to have a whole bunch of guests for you today. Some I got recorded yesterday. Some that are going to be showing up here very shortly. And we have a variety pack of guests for you today. A little all over the place, actually. But last night I finally got to go to Fantasia. I wasn't sick this year, so
Yay!
I got to go. The place was packed. It was been sold out because there wasn't a seat.
We had 11 seats left.
Yeah.
I was desperately trying to sell them. And
I mean, the place was packed. I got to tell you, you talked about there was a 6-in-hand Percheron that you got to ride on the wagon.
Yes.
And they come in. It's one of the first things that happens. They come in with the 6-in-hand minis. Mm-hmm. Oh, my God. And they're all black. It was the cutest thing I've ever seen.
I love the way their little legs go. Their little legs are just going. It's almost like a giant furry caterpillar. Just all you see is little legs going.
As a driver, I was watching going, those minis were harder to drive than those Percherons.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're kind of squirrely.
Yes.
And they were kind of all over the place.
Yes.
I mean, he did a good job with them. At one point, this is something, too, I wanted to point out that a lot of people don't realize. You've seen videos of, like, the Clydesdales and other teams getting hung up in the harness.
Right.
And it happened with the minis last night, and it's usually when they're making those 180-degree turns.
Right.
And that's what happened with the minis. But if anybody that was there noticed, the minis, they just stood still.
Exactly.
They're taught that if something happens, they're just stand still. Don't freak out, stand still. They're taught that. And they teach them that individually because stuff happens. I know I'm a carriage driver. Stuff happens with harnesses. Things happen.
Right.
But they were great. They stood still. They stood there, and they came out, fixed the problem, and they went on.
And the little mini shook himself all over.
He did. It was funny.
It was adorable. Like, oh, good. Now we can go back to the show.
And I got to see Brendan and Kaliegh, who we've had on the show here before. Brendan, of course, rides bridleless, and Kaliegh was out there riding bridleless with him. And those two, I mean, they make a good team together. And she was filling in at the last minute doing bridleless riding like that.
Exactly.
So good for her. You're going to hear Kaliegh a little later on. We had a very cool conversation. I love Kaliegh. We had a cool conversation we got in deep about a couple of topics, too, about her being on the road and traveling.
That's
but
awesome.
That was terrific. I mean, it was all good. Of course, we had the drill team on the other day, and they didn't make a wrong step at all last night. And I really thought they were going to crash a few times, but
Well, it's just not a drill team performance without a few near misses. Right?
but I've seen drill teams with 4 or 8. They must have had 16 out there.
Yes, it's a huge team.
Yeah.
And it is amazing. I'm usually videoing, and I've got video whiplash because it's like, how do you video a drill team performance?
Because they're all over the ring.
They're all
Yeah.
over. And so I pick a rider, and I'll follow her. And then when they do the big, beautiful, like, everyone lines up and they do a turn, I try to get in the middle so that you just have this sea of flags and horses and everything. But it's really fun to video, but it's probably more fun to watch it and just go, wow. And those kids are young.
They are. There
They're
were some that had to
teenagers.
be like 12, 13
Yes,
years old.
yes, and they work hard.
And they didn't freak out at all. I mean,
Nope.
and there was usually in drill patterns like that, you get one that's lagging or one
Right.
that gets lost.
Right.
There was none of that.
Yep, my favorite is when they have a lazy pony at the end, and the little rider's desperately trying to kick and say, "Hurry, catch up!"
Yeah.
That didn't happen last night. All the horses were on it.
It was a great show.
It was.
I can see why it sells out.
I'm so
Yeah.
glad you were there finally, because
Yeah.
I was so bummed last time when you
I know.
were sick.
I know. And I'm so glad I got to see the draft horses too.
I knew you would love that. That's always my favorite.
I went
act.
down trying to get an interview with her twice yesterday, but they were busy both times. So
We'll have to have them on later. 'Cause
Yeah.
they're wonderful. The Redingers. I now consider myself good friends with them because I've ridden in their carriage. They don't do that for just anybody, right?
I got to meet a couple of their Percherons, and they are the 18 plus hand variety.
Oh, yeah.
They are not the 16 and a half hand
No.
variety. No, they're the 18 plus hand. They're weighing it at a ton each.
Their
Yeah.
heads are ginormous.
They are huge.
Yeah,
They're
have-
definitely wearing size 7 bits.
I
Yeah.
have been hit in the head with a horse head before, a quarter horse head, and I survived. And I don't think you'd survive a Percheron head whip.
Let me tell you, when they step on your feet, it hurts too.
Oh,
So,
Lord.
well, we're going to get to our first guest here. We have a whole bunch of guests lined up for you today. Why don't you introduce our first guest?
Oh, our first guest is my favorite. Don't tell anybody else. All right, so our next guest is one of my favorites. Don't tell anybody else.
All right, it'll be our secret.
This is Steve Lantvit of Steve Lantvit Horsemanship, and his beautiful wife is not with us. She's at the booth, but I love Jen, so I got to do a shout out to Jen Lantvit.
Jen's got to keep the fork down, do all the work.
She keeps this one
Well,
straight.
he's over here playing.
That's
Yes.
it, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm really good at cleaning stalls and loping horses. That's about it.
One of the reasons that you're here, of course, you're giving clinics, you're giving presentations,
Correct.
you've got your amazing booth, but you were here to do Cowtown.
We did Cowtown, yes.
Tell me all about Cowtown.
I'm going to tell you something. You know, I'm going to give a shout out to John Strayer, okay? Because last time I was a presenter for Equine Affair was Massachusetts of 2022, okay? And we brought in a flag and a mechanical flag. So we sort of showcased what a cutting horse can do, and it was fun. And John comes up to me, he goes, "My goal is to have cows." And I'm like, "Yeah." And I said, "You get cows. I want to do it." And so, you know, typical guys, this is like locker room stuff. Like, ugh. I think we were flexing and pointing at each other. Okay. So I don't know if it was a barroom fight or we were in a back alley, but we're like, "Yeah, cows." All right. So, sure enough, we get invited to Equine Affair here in Columbus, Ohio. And you guys call us up, and we do the same thing we've done for, I couldn't tell you how many times. You know, you send in, like, here's our topics and stuff like that. And that's great. And Jen reads stuff. I don't. I just show up and do things. So
That's why Jen is my hero.
Yes. So I would have shown up totally, you know, I still would have been able to do it. But, you know, it was funny because she's looking at Facebook and she's seeing this Cowtown in the Cooper. And we're doing this Cowtown in Cooper, and there's all these pictures, and I'm on Esteban, and there's this cool cutting picture. And there's Ken McNabb and Mike Majors and stuff like that. And they're demonstrating sorting and this and this and this. And Jen goes, do you have cows? And I'm like, "Oh, no, I thought I was supposed to bring a flag." And I said, "Equine Affair never has cows." And she keeps seeing this popping up on the feed. And I said, "I got to tell you something. You better call somebody." So she calls, and I'm in the barn loping horses. She literally, honest to God, my wife runs for emergencies, okay, and that's pretty much it. And she's trucking out to the barn. She's jogging. She's got a good trot going on. She comes in and she goes, "You got cows?" And I'm like, "I got cows where?" And I'm thinking, out, right?
Yeah.
I got cows running down 1,000 north.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "We're going cowboy." And I go, what? What do you mean? And she goes, you know, and she goes, at Equine Affaire. I'm like, rock on, we got cows. Okay, so we're doing this thing. So yesterday, he goes, make it good. And I'm like, I'm going to make him crawl on his belly. And he goes, you make him crawl. We're going to make him crawl. So what was great is I couldn't tell you how many people came over and they're like, oh, my God, that horse is amazing. We don't get to see that. This is so exciting. So for us, you know, I mean, we compete in ring cow horse and stuff like that. We go across the country. But you're always hanging out with your group.
Yeah,
okay?
they've seen it before.
Yeah, they've seen it before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, it was okay.
Yeah.
It was pretty nice.
Yeah.
So we do herd work and we do reining and we go down the fence. So what we did is basically an intro to what we call boxing. Okay. So we would kick out, ours was sort of a boxing / herd work because some of these horses didn't know how to come out of a herd. I would help them, but we'd kick out a cow. And then the rider holds that cow away from everything else around the side of the fence. So ours was sort of a combo of herd work and boxing. Okay, but what we did it for was we introduced some horses to cattle for the first time, and I had other ones that have been on a cow. And we cleaned up their maneuvers, showing backwards turns versus forwards turns, talking about opening legs and having the horse pass through. But the biggest thing is making a mental connection between the horse and the cow so that it becomes the horse's job. A lot of riders that come, I would say the majority of riders that come to Equine Affaire are used to always micromanaging their horse.
Well, especially on the English side. My wife has tried what you do, and she's like, they kept telling me not to get in the horse's way. You're getting in the horse's way.
You're getting in the horse's way. Drop your hand and don't do anything. And so when we go out there, and I
which is totally counterintuitive to anybody that's ridden dressage or eventing.
Yes, because you guys want to fix everything.
Yeah.
And how we fix it is you set them up, turn them loose, and say, okay. And what you're looking for on a good horse is when you set him up like that, that horse sort of drops his head, lifts his shoulder, kinks in this. It almost looks like a predatory way. He goes from being a herd animal, you know, to he's a carnivore. Okay, it's the difference between riding a vegan and a predator.
He wants to eat the cow.
He wants to eat the cow. And then when they get cocky, you could almost hear the horse say, hold my beer. I got this. And then they just kick it into overdrive.
Does that translate then to them
Translates to everything.
Okay.
To loading to the trailer, to crossing the river.
Riding the toughest trails. And
I have a little stud here. So I was riding for that demo, Stevie Ray Vaughan 6-year-old. I have a little stud colt here, I started him, so I always call him a little stud colt. He's 6, okay?
Aww.
Klein's had him with me since he was 2. I started him, put him on cows, and did everything. He was a 2-year-old son of the Boone. If you know anything about the Boone is a very aggressive, very dominant horse, okay? The Boone has 187 offspring last time I checked. Hank is in the top 10 earners out of the 187 offspring. As a 2-year-old, Hank was crossing rivers that he couldn't touch the bottom, and they were so strong that he was floating downstream. And he could lead trails. He could go up and down everything.
See, and listening to you talk about it, you know, I've been, as the social media person, I've been hyping this, I've been marketing this, I've been writing about this for months and months, and press releases and articles and all the things. And so it's so wonderful to have seen it happen. It's happened, and now
I want you to know that your marketing did such a good job. So Dr. Anderson and Corey are total equine feeds. Mm-hmm. So Thursday, I'm at the booth. We're getting ready to do stuff. I turn around. Corey Anderson is running in, and I look. I'm like, Corey, what are you doing here? And Corey goes, I saw on Facebook Cowtown in the Cooper. Uh-huh. He goes, and I read it. I see, and he goes, the first picture is you on Esteban. And I'm like, yeah. He goes, oh my God, they have cows at Equine Affaire. Yep. He goes, I called my dad Wednesday. This was about 3:00. He goes, I packed a bag. I ran straight to the airport. He goes, the flight got delayed. It's supposed to leave at 10:00 in the morning. I'm driving home. I get a text. It's leaving at 5:00. I spend 3 hours of sleep at a hotel next to the airport at DFW. I turn around, I get here, I flew in. He goes, I'm here. So he took video and everything. So You're promoting I mean, got a sponsor who lives in Weatherford, Texas, to hop a plane at the last minute because he goes, I just want to see this. I want to see the event. And he got really excited. We had another sponsor, Lollies, that came in specifically because of the cattle.
Steve, thanks for stopping by. What's the website?
SteveLantvit.com. Check us out on the Cowboy Channel on noon on Monday through Friday. And if you want us for a clinic or something, give us a call.
Well, a listener just stopped. I met more listeners this show than I've ever met at any show we've ever done, and that's been wonderful. But I have Karen Thompson here, and you have something unique. You got to ride in the Philip Dutton Clinic.
Yeah, so I'm from Paris, Kentucky, so I brought my 10-year-old off-the-track thoroughbred, Carry the Burden, and we've competed up through the novice.
Are you the burden?
Apparently, because he's carrying me.
Yeah.
But I also feed him, so I don't know how much of a burden that is. Kind of goes both ways. But we've competed up through the novice level in eventing and mostly been working on show jumping lately. And I thought it was a great opportunity to come up and a good excuse to come to the Equine Affair. I figured might as well bring a horse. So we rode in that yesterday, and we mostly focused on getting the horses to go forward and come back, doing different exercises so that to essentially mimic what you are doing out on cross country with show jumping. So it was nice to have great ideas to practice at home like we did. We'd go into a set distance line, do 4 strides, come around to in and out. So you had to go really forward through the 4 stride, make a sharp turn, and then really sit back, collect your horse, and get them to just go through the bounce. So it was quite challenging and fun. Gave me, made a couple mistakes, but was able to, correct them, which was awesome as well. And my horse did super, so I'm very proud of him. And we're riding with him again this afternoon at 1:30.
Are you? Yeah. Oh, wow.
So,
I didn't know you get to do more than once. That's great.
Well,
Is he patient? I mean, was he good?
He was great.
Yeah.
I think that he gave the right amount of instruction because sometimes people can give you too much and it's overwhelming.
Especially in that kind of environment where you're being watched by other people and the whole thing.
Yeah. But I think it was nice to watch the other riders too because, some other riders made mistakes or, maybe somebody had a little bit of a confidence issue and he just kind of pepped them through it and said, come on, just go ahead and get over it. And it was great to see the difference in everybody else's horses too. I feel like he was very positive and gave good constructive feedback.
So obviously you're an eventer.
Yeah, I mean, I've been dabbling in the show jumping a little bit more, but we'll probably try to get out and do a horse trial this year.
And how long have you had your thoroughbred?
So I have had him since he was 3. So,
wow.
Yeah, I've had him for a while.
Did he race at all?
He did. He raced as...
Not very well, obviously. Or...
He won like $200. So he was free, you know?
Yeah, there you go.
That's how I ended up with most of my horses. My husband's like, well, if they're free. So apparently he's not as good at math.
No,
he figured that out.
Do not have him listen to Horse Husbands episode.
So, he raced once at Churchill Downs on the turf, kind of ran middle of the pack. And I was actually working at the farm where he was bred at, and he came back to the farm for a little bit of a layup. He hyperextended his knee, which wasn't a bad injury, and needed 30 days. And I think, honestly, the woman, I'm still in touch with the owner trainers that had him, and I think she just didn't want to ride him anymore because he was kind of a pain to gallop in the morning. She would tell me that, he was not really feeling it. He'd wait for the horse to gallop up behind him, and he'd suck back, and then he'd start bucking him, and he can buck pretty
Perfect
big.
event horse.
Yeah, it's like they say if they can buck, they can jump, and he can jump. That's for sure. If you can stay on through the bucks, you're good.
Well, that's great.
So that's how I ended up with him. So he's been a really cool horse. It's been ups and downs like every horse that you train, but now all the pieces to the puzzle are finally coming together, and we're developing a really good partnership. So that's very rewarding.
And have you spent a lot of money here at the...
We just bought a 3+1 horse trailer, and I just want to
spend a lot of money.
I was proud of myself because when we got here, I'm like, okay, you don't need any more bell boots. You don't need any more saddle pads. And I was really glad. I was doing so well. And then we go over to the horse trailers, and my husband's like, hey, this isn't a bad price. I'm like...
Actually, I thought the prices were down compared to 2 years ago.
Yeah, okay, it's a good price for...
What kind did you get?
So we got a Sundowner, 2+1,
yeah.
and we traded our horse trailer in. So because my horse was such a good boy this weekend, we're bringing him home in a new ride.
Oh, wow. That's terrific. So you're driving it home?
Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting.
So, it's pretty cool. So the one thing that...
So you got to work with Philip Dutton and buy a new horse trailer.
Yes,
That's a good weekend.
Yes. And it was his idea. So it's, you got to kind of
And that must be him over there.
No.
No? Okay. Oh, hey, how are you? Well, congratulations on getting to ride with Philip and also getting a new toy.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. The only thing I will say is I got really good at backing in the 2-horse trailer into our driveway, just the way it's set up. And
is this still a tag along?
This is a gooseneck, and it's a little longer, and my driveway is a little tricky to back into. We're in a neighborhood. The neighbors might come out and watch me cuss a little bit trying to get this one in the driveway.
After 10 or 12 times of hitting things, you'll be fine.
I mean, if that's the worst problem I have, I think I'm doing okay.
Well, that's really cool. I did notice prices were down compared to a couple of years ago.
And the thing about those is that why I thought it was okay is they really do hold their value.
Yeah, they do.
So,
Sundowner's a great trailer.
Yeah. So,
well, good for you.
Yeah.
No wonder it's been an expensive weekend.
I'm a little scared to look at my bank account later
I
on.
bet. Well, congratulations.
Well, thank you. It's been nice chatting with you.
Easy, effective, and eco-friendly fly control starts with Fly Predators. Fly Predators are the organic, natural way to dramatically minimize your fly problem, saving you and your horse from battling them all season long. Take it from our 23,000 plus 5-star reviews. Fly Predators are the natural fly control that works. Learn more about Fly Predators and other Spalding Labs fly control solutions at spalding-labs.com.
Well, one of the sports that I like the most in the horse world, and partly because we have a good friend, Tammy Serrance, who got us into this about 14 years ago, and is mounted shooting. And we have Cara Penley with us today talking about mounted shooting. It is just the coolest sport. It really is. It's so much fun.
It is a lot of fun. It is a performance horse sport, which I enjoy. I like to go fast. It's also a speed event. But the thing that really draws me to the sport is the amount of horsemanship that it takes to really be able to do it. So the combination of those two factors, you can't just have somebody that wants to get into the sport and buy their way into the sport. They have to put in the time themselves to learn how to do the gun handling,
the horse isn't doing it all for you on this one.
Absolutely.
We just talked about the cow work, right? Where you want the horse to do most of the work. Here, it's a little different. It's basically barrel racing with guns.
It is.
That kind of speed.
It is, with a couple more turns and different things going on. I like to say that there's 3 different components to mounted shooting. So you have the gun handling part. You have to be sufficient with the guns. Then you have to have a horse that's gun broke and willing to accept that form of pressure. And then you also have over 80 different shooting patterns that can be selected at any point for a competition. Usually we run between 4 to 6 patterns, or we call them stages, in a day. So you mix those 3 components, and it can get complicated really quick.
And the other thing, too, is these are not little lightweight 22s that they're carrying.
No. We are using single-action 45 revolvers. And what we're doing is we're shooting. They are heavy. I know. We have some beginners come, and they're like, geez, I can't hold these
it weighs like 4 pounds. It's like...
You got to build those wrist muscles.
You do. Yeah. I talk to a lot of people. I say, get your weights out and start working out a little bit.
Yeah.
But so we shoot black powder blanks out of the guns. That's one of the biggest questions that we get. And the spray of that black powder will pop a balloon within 15 to 20 feet. Really, after that, the powder falls. Your optimal distance is about 10 to 12 feet.
And it's a 45. It's still a 45 charge, so it's loud.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. They are loud.
Yeah.
It sounds like a gun going off,
for
sure.
Yeah. Tammy, for the years that we've known her, and she talks about this, she does rifle, too.
Yes.
Now, explain that, because usually you're carrying 2 pistols.
Correct. So the way that the sport works is there's usually 10 balloons. You have 2 pistols. You shoot 5 targets with one gun. You holster the first gun, pull the second, and then shoot the next 5 targets. That's the main match. Everybody enters that class.
And it's single action, so you're pulling the hammer every time.
You got to pull that hammer every time. And something else interesting about those guns is you could still shoot live ammo out of them. Now, we do modify them slightly by lightening the hammers and the triggers, but they are still real firearms. But we also have specialty classes in addition to the main match, which is rifle, shotgun, and cavalry. So on the rifle and shotgun, horses, you drop the reins on the rundown, which is the second half of the pattern, and you either shoot 2 clusters of balloons with a shotgun, or you shoot at 5 targets with a lever action rifle.
And that's also in a holster.
It is.
Yeah.
It's usually in a scabbard on the side of your horse, either up by their shoulder or back on your rear cinch of the saddle.
Tammy always says that she can't shoot anything on the ground standing still. Is that true of you guys too?
You gotta be moving. Well, I don't really practice it that much. Most of the time I'm practicing, I'm on a horse and we're moving.
It's important though, I guess you do start them on the ground, right? To learn how to handle the guns.
Yes, absolutely. When we have beginners getting into the sport, it's back to those 3 different sections of the sport that I'm talking about. That gun handling portion, what we do is we ground shoot with everybody, show them how to load, unload, and we treat them as actual firearms because they are. Make sure your barrel's always pointed in a safe direction. Your gun's either in your holster or pointed at a target only. We are very big on gun safety in the sport because we want to continue to keep people safe and to be able to have fun with it.
Well, we don't need to be shooting their ears off either. So that's the other thing.
No.
So now the horses, do you start with balloons? How do you start with the horses?
So as far as our way of breaking horses to gunfire, what we do is we actually shoot straight up in the air when we start doing it, and that's to get them desensitized.
Is it a less charge so it's not as loud, or is it the same charge?
Usually we'll start with 22s.
Yeah,
and the reason for that is the ammo's a little bit cheaper. So we'll use a 22 revolver.
Yeah, that's true too.
And we use Ramset for what you put nails into concrete with. The brown color only, if anybody's listening and trying to do this by themselves. And that's a lot cheaper. That's about $10 a box instead of 60 cents a round, which is what our blanks are. But we start off by gun breaking by shooting straight up in the air while we're on the horse so that we can desensitize to the sound only first before we add in that visual. And that's really what it is shooting is just another form of pressure to the horse. So it's getting them used to that form of pressure, just like your hand cues or your leg cues when you're riding them. That's what they understand is pressure and release of pressure. So we start by just the sound, and then slowly we start to bring our hand down and show them the visual. And then after that, once they're okay with that, we'll start shooting at the targets. But it's very important to pay attention to what speed the horse needs to go for that gun breaking process, and make sure that we're building confidence each time we shoot off of that horse.
And when you say visual, I think if you haven't seen mounted shooting, you might not be able to visualize, but it is a flash of fire and powder going past this horse's eye. I was able to photograph a mounted shooting competition, and my favorite photo I've ever taken, I got the beautiful muzzle flash and the smoke and the powder going past the horse's eye. And that's going to be pretty alarming the first couple times.
Yes. And so when we have beginners just getting into the sport, we tell them to shoot at 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock because we don't want your hand too far to that horse's head.
Yes.
And that really applies even when we have finished horses that we're riding the sport. We are not shooting directly over their head. We are shooting to either side.
Right. Absolutely.
So if somebody wants to get into this, obviously finding somebody in the area to help would be a benefit, starting with somebody who's already doing it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I would definitely recommend. There's so many moving parts to this sport.
Yeah.
Having a trainer to help you get into the sport, make sure that your horse is being acclimated to the gunfire.
Yeah, because it's a speed event too. The horse still has to know how to do that part.
That's right. That's right.
And you have to know how to do that part.
Yeah, you're riding one-handed.
Right.
You're shooting the guns. There's
a lot of coordination involved here. I wouldn't be so good at this.
Now, I don't want to scare anybody, right? There's multiple levels to the sport. So the Cowboy Mounted Shooting Association, which is the association that we primarily shoot with, they have a level system. So it's level 1 through 6. And everybody that starts in the sport starts as a level 1. And the great thing about that is you are riding with other competitors. They're at the same level as you. So don't feel that you need to go out there and lay down a 10-second run the first time you start. You can go out, you can walk the pattern, trot the pattern. It's all about being successful and building confidence in horse and rider teams.
And the higher level, too, you're wearing the outfits, too, from the 1800s, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So there's different dress codes. There's your traditional. You'll see women in these beautiful dresses and corsets that they wear. And men will have the traditional colonial clothing on. But we also have the more modern Western arena attire, which is the button-down shirt. You have to wear a set of chinks. That's partially for safety, but you'll see a lot of different colors. It's turned into a fashion statement for most people.
Always.
And you have to have the Western cowboy hat on. So there is a dress code requirement, but that brings a level of fun to it. And everybody takes their own approach to that. So it's kind of neat to see everybody in all their stuff.
What's your website?
Our website is www.penleyhorsemanship.com.
And now coming up is Kaliegh Marie from Braveheart Beast. She's one of the stars of Fantasia yesterday. She's been on the show before. And she is well known for her beautiful Liberty performances. I love speaking to Kaliegh, and we got a little deep in this interview. I have Kaliegh here from Braveheart Beast. It's always so fun to come here to see all our friends.
It's so fun, Glenn. I'm so happy to be here.
I mean, and you performed last night in Fantasia.
I did.
And the night before?
And the night before.
How'd it go? How was the show?
It's been absolutely magical. Fantasia specifically has been a show that's been on my list, on my horizon for nearly 6 years now. So since the very beginning of my journey with my Liberty work with my horses, I have always wanted to be in this arena. So to be able to be here with an incredible group of people.
You've kind of worked hard to get here, though.
I mean, I like to think so. I have definitely put a lot in. Yeah, but it makes it just that much sweeter to actually get here and to be received like we have. It has been truly a magical experience. Just the absolute joy of being here is overwhelming sometimes.
Well, some of you will recognize Kaligh's voice from the segment we did with the auditors on her trip to Mongolia.
Yes.
And her camel riding winter expedition. You don't smell a camel anymore. So I guess
it took a while to wash that one off. Yeah.
But so you have really become the one doing this kind of Liberty act in the country. I mean, you really have. You've set yourself up perfectly.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate that, Glenn. And that definitely wasn't the intent behind the work that I do. Like, that's a serious compliment to receive from somebody that sees so much of the industry.
No, you have.
Yeah.
When I think of it now, I think of you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. That means the world. I'm really just going in there to have fun with my horse. I think that's the most incredible thing about the experience I've had so far.
The ones who go in to be a celebrity that are not successful.
Yes.
You did it for the right reason.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. Because it really is just the time of my life when I'm in there with my boys.
Now, did you ever do theater or acting or anything before?
Not as much as you might think. I was in a couple of high school plays. Yeah, that's been a side of me that I've really had to bring out. I think anybody that meets
it looked natural.
Anybody that meets me in person wouldn't believe what I was like in my teenage years. I was really a little socially awkward, introverted, not very expressive as far as like the theatrics go. But finding that stage
you came out of that
with my horses, yes, the stage I have with my horses is giving me an entirely different avenue to really show, I call it like a vulnerable part of myself. Anybody that's performing, if you're really going to connect with the crowd, you have to be vulnerable and you have to show exactly what it is that you want them to feel.
Because they read through, if you're not, they read through it in 2 minutes.
Exactly, and it becomes almost mechanical. So instead of going out there to like achieve choreography or to like put on a show, I'm really going out there to feel everything with my horses and to share that with anybody who's watching.
Do you find it hard, like if I said tomorrow morning you're going up and giving a keynote speech in front of 10,000 people without your horses, would you find that hard?
Less so now than I would have before. I think anything around the realm of horses, and especially the work I've been doing recently, more and more into connection with people. That's a space that I'm really enjoying leaning into, understanding just how deep the connection work goes into our own selves and our personal lives and the work that we do with horses. The opportunities that have come up for me to explore that, both with horses and people, have just become really exciting for me.
Are you surprised how much, and I'm asking this because I've been through it a few times in my life, are you surprised how much the business side kind of, the more popular you become, the more you're ending up doing, the more you realize that business ends up taking over 50% of your life, and you're going, wow, The fun part's the stage.
Yeah.
The fun part's this, right? Microphones,
Yes,
this is the fun part.
absolutely.
Everything else is work.
Yeah.
It's work.
I mean, you say 50%, I say 70, 80% of what I do, many people don't ever witness. Right. And it is just business. It's setting things up in a strategic way, being
you travel
proactive.
all the time. Planning travel's a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's time consuming.
It is time consuming. And I'd say, looking in from the outside, this kind of life, it's easy for people to look at it and say that they'd love to do that and they want to achieve the same thing with their horses. And if they do, good on them. I encourage them 110% to chase that ambition, but it is ambitious. Like, this is my entire life, inside and out, has been dedicated, not just to bettering my horses, but to bettering myself, to be able to discover and really push the bounds of what's possible in this realm. And every single minute of it is worth it, whether it's the payoff being in the arena, experiencing those euphoric moments with my horses and with my people afterwards, or when it's the struggle coming across business situations that I've never navigated before, running off of 1 hour of sleep, 40 hours into expo setup and driving, because that was our experience getting to Equine Affaire, trailers breaking down, organizing the
part
team.
they don't see.
Oh my gosh, there's always something.
And when we were traveling and owning the acting company and doing all of that, you're around people all the time. Yet when you're the business owner and you're not with a spouse, let's say, okay, you're on doing this, there are lonely times, even though you're around all those people sometimes.
Absolutely. And I think
was that just me, or was that you?
No, I would agree with that. I think for me, there's a blessing in the work that I do that has made me so consciously aware of the kind of connection that we crave as humans. Some of which we find in our horses, some of which we find in other people, and being able to realize what I can find fulfillment in with my team, and the moments maybe that I need to have, like the peace and quiet to restore myself. It's so incredibly important, even in those busy times, to prioritize that too.
What's been the hardest thing being on the road?
The hardest thing being on the road, I think, would be a lack of consistency. Like, there's a huge sense of adventure that I absolutely, I crave it.
You went and rode camels for a month in Mongolia in the winter.
Like, when I'm not traveling, I want to be traveling. It's what I live to do. I just love all of the adventures that lie out there. But especially in terms of business, it's like I don't have a consistent schedule to sit down and answer the emails and the messages and to plan out exactly what's coming. And also, I have no idea what is coming. Like, my business is still so early on, which is an exciting concept because things have gotten so big.
Yeah, but it's so terrifying
quickly.
too. Let's be honest.
Yeah, and in that regard, coming back to the idea of traveling and all the things that I'm learning about horses, about myself, about the world, there's one thing in particular that's been standing out to me lately, and it is this idea of like the unknown, and the unknown being terrifying. And I was speaking about this with a friend of mine, Brendan Wise, and we were discussing this idea that being able to believe in something, really, you can only believe in something that you don't know, right? You can't believe in something that you already know is true. You can either know it or you can believe it. And when you're believing something, what you're really acknowledging is that there is an unknown. If you believe it, it's because you don't know what's happening. And with the unknown, there can be two things. There can be fear, which can prevent us from acting on the ambitions that we have, from trusting that we can actually accomplish the things that we want to accomplish. Or that second thing, there can be faith. There can be faith in the fact that we are capable, and maybe not just capable, but that the whole thing is going to turn out so much better than we ever expected. So even when the insecurity comes up, when the unknowns are there, when I don't know how exactly I'm going to get to the other side of a situation,
or pay the bills that week,
right? Yeah. That's a reality for all of us. It's like, I trust that the things that show up in my life, they show up for a reason. I try to live my life as intentionally as possible, and if every decision I make is intentional, every outcome is lesson, if you will, or a step along the path that's going to lead me exactly to where I'm meant to be. So there's a significant amount of trust, but I think that trust leads to a much deeper connection to my purpose, to my people, and to everything that I'm setting out to do.
When you're an entrepreneur, you have to have both of those things in spades, because you're believing and having faith the entire time you're in business.
Exactly.
Because there's always the next hurdle when you're an entrepreneur.
When you're growing, it's not about finding that stability and comfort. It's about seeing what the next bound is that you can push. And what's fun about
but
business,
it's also understanding. Understanding there is a limit and there is a line.
Absolutely.
And then a lot of businesses fail because they cross that line when they should have not.
So for me, business can be really fun because it's almost like a game of strategy. You have to have such a complete understanding of your own strengths, of your assets, your resources, and how
it's really
you're supposed to be.
Isn't it?
It kind of is.
Yeah, because you have to know when okay.
Right, it's like when do I call it? When are we close enough?
Or when do I take that card?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So being able to have that understanding and to approach it with kind of a hunger and a curiosity to see like what is the next move, I think that has really helped me to.
You know, your generation, you're in your 20s, okay? I'm not giving away a secret there, I don't think. You got to still get carded all the time.
Yeah.
So, but your generation, I feel, has a better understanding of that mindfulness, if you want to use that word, than any generation before you. And I know your generation also gets picked on a lot, that being out there and whatever. But what you just said was something that I haven't heard from 50-year-olds. You know, I think you are more conscious of that. And I think social media has helped that a little bit. You have an opportunity to know more than we did. But I also think that you're not content just getting the 9-to-5 job for your lifetime.
Exactly.
Like my dad was, right?
Yeah.
And so you're striving. And when you strive, you have to deal with all of those things.
Absolutely. There's a lot of discomfort in striving, but I think in the grand scheme of things, the thing that I remind myself of, especially in those challenging moments, is that I'm only here one time. I'm only here to experience what's around me this once. And going into something that's so consistent and comfortable, sometimes that is the experience that people want to have. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I know for me, being here on this earth just once, I want to push as far as I can possibly go and to experience as much as I possibly can.
This is totally not where I saw this interview going, but I'm loving it. I really wanted to talk to you about your big-ass trailer. That's really what I wanted to talk to you about.
I knew this was going to come up with you, Glenn.
All right, so
I think you're just jealous. I really do.
I don't know. I wouldn't be jealous if I had to back the sucker up. So your trailer is how long?
It's 45 feet.
Oh, my God, everybody.
Not that
I saw the picture
sizes,
of her trailer, and I went, how do you park the thing, number one? And do you ever have to back it up?
I back it up all the time.
You must be.
I do.
This is a topic we talk about a lot. We talked about it yesterday on the show. And we had a guy on that does trailer backing and everything. And it's everybody's fear, right? Backing up the horse trailer.
I lean into it. Honestly,
How many things have you hit? Light poles,
with
walls,
that, none,
other cars?
None.
Really?
I'm just that good.
Okay, how many horses does that 45-foot trailer hold?
So that trailer carries 4, and it has...
Oh, it must have a kick-ass living quarters.
Oh, the living quarters are amazing. We have a fireplace, sound system, TV, walk-in closet, the whole nine. It was honestly a lot more than I was looking for.
It's not new either,
but
is it?
It's a 2015.
Yeah,
it's a Bison premiere.
It's a Bison, yeah.
It is. So as I was starting to expand my team and my business was growing, it became significantly more important to me to be able to accommodate my people in a comfortable way. Was I looking for a legitimate party bus? Not necessarily. But it was one of those things, like I really believe in the ability to kind of attract or manifest the things that we need, and that they will show up if it's the right time and the right place. And I had put it out there to the powers that be that I needed a new living quarters. This was last August. By the end of August, so that I had a new trailer for our fall travels, and it showed up. It was an hour away from where I lived. It was within my budget, and I went, looked at it, and I brought it home.
But the first couple times you drove it had to be a little...
So
you made turns really wide.
The trailer I had before that one was 39 feet.
Okay.
So the extra 5 feet, honestly, it doesn't feel that different. And I'll tell you, as far as backing goes, I would much rather back up a 45-foot trailer than a 20-foot or a 14-foot.
Well, yeah, the little tag-alongs, they just react so quick.
I know, so quickly.
Yeah.
So, like, the big one, as long as you're spatially aware of what's around you, like, you can take your time, and it's easy to plan the turns. And, like you said, I just feel like a badass when I drive it.
Yeah,
so.
I bet you do. Yeah. I bet you do. It is long.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever driven one. 40 feet's probably the longest gooseneck. Yeah. But yeah, so I admire you.
Thank you.
I have trailer envy.
Thank you so much.
Because our living quarters is like 8 foot. Yours is like
this one
20.
I think it's like 17.
Yeah. You probably have bunk beds and everything else in there.
It's one of those things, like every time I step into it, I still can't believe that I actually have it. You know, being able to realize things like that.
As a brand, how's the Bison holding up?
So far, I'm happy with it. I think the point in its life at which I bought it, it's at a point now where it needs some money invested into it.
I'm willing to bet it's in the living quarters part. The pumps are starting to fail. Just stuff breaks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it does with wear and tear, but overall, I'm so happy with it.
Doesn't leak though, right?
No, it doesn't.
That's the worst, worst thing that could happen.
That's what's important.
Well, this has been fun.
This has been so fun. It's always fun, Glenn. I'm always happy,
what's the website
happy to
again?
be here. The website is braveheartbeasts.com.
Where do you go next from here?
Next from here, I have some clinics coming up at home in Rhode Island. I'm off to Canada, off to Germany, Colorado.
And what's the next big camel adventure?
The next big camel adventure is happening in July 2025. I am going back to Mongolia to be reunited with Marv, my Mongolian racing camel, who is gifted to me by the Mongolian herders.
Yeah. Because all of us own a racing camel.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have a racing camel, Glenn?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
my
missed
God.
That memo.
Yeah, so that is when I'll be back, at least to ride again. Speaking of manifesting, putting things out there, at some point, there may or may not be a camel joining the Braveheart Beasts.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
Yeah. I think the next Fantasia,
I
need a Liberty camel.
For that, or one
I'm
with
trying
convertible?
to figure that out. I am. Maybe we could have one custom made with like just humps
in
the
hump.
roof.
Yeah. That's funny. And next you have a giraffe.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think a camel's a perfect addition.
I think it would be phenomenal. I see it now like a cinematic masterpiece with the horses, and at like the climactic build of the music, you just release the Liberty camel into the arena.
And he's got to jump like 4 feet.
Oh my God, he has to.
Yeah.
He has to.
Yeah.
I'll have my racing camel and I'll have my show jumping camel.
I love it.
I'll get on it.
I can't wait.
I will.
Next year's Fantasia.
Exactly. Don't miss it, folks.
As horse owners, we spend a lot of time on the road. Let US Rider help keep you covered. Our equestrian motor plan offers fast, reliable, nationwide service from our highly trained roadside assistance team. 24/7 coverage for both you and your horse. Membership includes horse trailer servicing, towing, flat tire repair, even on dual wheels, battery assistance, and lockout service on any vehicle in your plan. We also have your equine companions covered with referrals for emergency vet services, farrier referrals, and emergency stabling assistance. Get peace of mind on the road for you and your horse. Join US Rider today.
Well, I have Jessica Schroeder here, and she is with the USTA, which is the United States Trotting Association.
Yes.
And I'm so happy to have you guys here. One, I'm a carriage driver, okay? And I've always wanted, it's on my bucket list, to drive a standardbred on the track.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's not that hard to do. You just need to give us a call and we can get anybody in behind a horse.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, it just looks like so much fun. To go that fast around the track just looks like so much fun.
It is. And, you know, the experience of getting to sit behind a horse, it's just, people don't really understand what it looks like, you know, so the more people we can get behind a horse, the better. And here at Equine Affaire, we even have a 360 video. So even if we
tried to get over there yesterday, it was so busy, I couldn't get in.
It was. We had a line going.
Yes.
So even if we can't get you behind a real horse, we can get you behind, you know, on those VR goggles. And so you can like really experience what it's like. And there's horses to the left, to the right behind you. At one point in that video, there's a horse that's literally got its nose on your shoulder. And when people look to the right, they see it and they kind of jump because they think they're going to hit their head on that horse's nose. Well,
the jog cart's different too when you're sitting in the jog cart like that with your feet up. That's a little different than a carriage.
Yes, it definitely is. So we have two different types of bikes. So we have a jog cart, which is what we use on our daily training basis. So it's a little bit more comfortable for the drivers.
That's the one where your feet are like in stirrups.
Yep, yeah. So your feet are actually a little bit lower, and you're a little further away from the horse. So the setup that we have here at Equine Affaire and what they race in, those are called race bikes. So your feet are literally like straddling the horse's butt.
Yeah,
you're that close.
The horse
Their
seems
hocks
really
are
close.
right by your knees, basically. Yeah,
yeah.
It's very
I did
close.
a very large version of that. Drove a Percheron once, and that was terrifying because the butt is right there and it's enormous. It's like if this horse kicks, I'm in trouble.
Those are large. I would be very intimidated to do that. I'll jog horses every day. I'll take any horse out there in the race bike, but I don't know those draft horses. Those are intimidating.
We talk about standardbreds a lot. We have a show called Retired Racehorse Radio, and they deal with thoroughbreds and standardbreds and even Arabians that race and that kind of thing. So how is the standardbred? How is that world doing?
So they're becoming even more popular. So at the USTA 2 years ago, we launched the Standardbred Incentive Program, and it's to promote and encourage people to use standardbred off-track horses as riding horses.
Because they're great, level-headed horses.
They are, and so many of our horses, especially here in Ohio, they go to the county fairs and race. So they're used to the Ferris wheel and the tilt-a-whirl and kids running around with balloons and cotton candy and all that kind of stuff. So they see everything. So they make really great trail horses.
And you guys, I know, have been, as the thoroughbreds are, you have been making an effort to rehome them.
Yes.
That's become a thing, right?
It has.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we actually have the Standardbred Transition Alliance right now that takes in donations, and it's a separate organization, and they accredit different adoption groups. So those that take in standardbreds, they have to go through this rigorous application process, show their financials, how they're placing horses and things like that. And then they give them grants and everything. So it's kind of like the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance, the TAA. It's kind of what it was fashioned after. It's in its very early stages, it's still getting its feet wet. They have 5 accredited programs right now that they're working with. But it's always been, part of our mission. Not only do we take care of these horses because we breed for racing and they're used for racing, but we have to make sure that they have a good life after racing too.
So how many are you also over or in charge of, or whatever the word is, of the county fair circuit and that kind of thing too?
I also liaison with the fairs. Yeah. So
because a lot of people don't know what we're talking about if you've never been to one, but that's where I first came in to see this type of racing. Was that a county fair?
Yes.
Yeah.
So here in Ohio, there's 88 counties, but we race at 67 different county fairs.
It's that big?
It's that big.
I know it's big in Pennsylvania. There's certain states it's big in.
Yeah. So Illinois was always a big hotbed. Indiana's got a lot of fairs. Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, New York. Those are the big ones. We do still have some in Maine as well. Kentucky.
So if you're from the West Coast, you've probably never seen harney racing at a county fair.
The only track we have west of the Mississippi is California.
It's
kind of its own island
because it's kind of like, I don't know. It's just kind of like you feel like you could get out there and do it. It's a little different than watching them on the big track.
It is, and you can get really close. People go into the barns all the time. You can watch the horses get hooked up and go out to the track. See them get bathed afterwards. So we always encourage people to go to the county fairs. So part of the USTA website is fairs.ustrotting.com, and there we list all the different fairs in every state that are licensed with us to have harness racing. So there's some in Tennessee, there's some in Kentucky, Wisconsin. So even places that don't have a parimutuel racetrack, there still might be a county fair in that state.
One of my favorite racetrack in the country is the Red Mile in Lexington.
Yes. I think it's everybody.
When we went to Lexington for the first time 30 years ago, we just happened on the Red Mile when there was a race day. And it's like a party. There was a band, there was barbecues going on. Yeah. It was completely different feel than a thoroughbred track.
Yeah, and it's amazing because the way they have those box seats right up front, it's like you're on the track watching the horses come down, and you're at track level and you're right there.
There's not many tracks different feeling.
Yeah,
it's just as the coolest. Is it still? As big as it was at Red Mile?
It is. It's even on every horseman's bucket list. Like you just know that that last week of September, that first week in October, you go to the Red Mile. It's like the pilgrimage of all the harness horsemen to go down there because we have the horse sale there. and then the Grand Circuit racing. And I mean, there's more racing throughout the summer there, but those 2 weeks of Grand Circuit racing, which is like right when Keeneland is opening up, I mean, it's just huge.
So Churchill for the thoroughbreds, Red Mile for the standardbreds. Yes. That's so cool. Where can people find out more if they want to learn more about, harness racing?
So the USTA, U.S. Trotting Association, is the breed registry for the standardbred horse and the record-keeping entity for harness racing. So we keep all the statistics of racing throughout the country. So ustrotting.com is a great resource. We have some information in there for beginners, information about the fairs, information about the life after racing. If you want to get involved in horse ownership or breeding horses, that's kind of your one-stop shop to go.
And I am seeing a lot more of the harness racing on the betting channels and on TV. They're showing a lot more than they used to.
All right, yeah, we got places like FanDuel. We have the RTN, which can show every single simulcast of harness racing where you don't have to be signed up for what's called an ADW if you need to bet. Sometimes those platforms, they require you to bet in order to watch the races. But RTN is a great resource because you can watch every simulcast feed of every harness track in the country and even up in Canada too. So, I mean, it's a great place to be able to see. There's more places that are doing live streaming like on YouTube and stuff like that. A lot of fairs like the Ohio Harness Horsemen's Association, they go to all the fairs and live stream all the fairs. So if you're in Georgia and you can't make it to the races, like you can hop on the OHHA Facebook page and watch racing there. So there's a lot of states that are starting to do that, like in Illinois and Michigan as well. So there's a lot of places you can watch harness racing, not just live. Of course, we encourage everybody to go to a live racetrack. But
it's just fun.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you're going to Lexington and there's racing going on, don't miss the Red Mile.
Correct, yes.
And a shout out to Jeff over at Omega Alpha because he's been our friend for 14 years. I've been a sponsor of ours forever, and I know he's into harness racing, and he wanted to make sure I got you on today. So
yes,
shout out to Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Well, we try and highlight a product at every one of these shows that we do at Equine Affaire. And today I have Colby with me, and he is with Zestera, which I've never heard of, to be honest.
Well, it's not a new product, but it is new to the area and to the Equine Affaire, and we're sure glad to be part of this year. And we are the supplement of the Equine Affaire, the official supplement.
Oh, really?
So
okay.
We got involved with the Equine Affaire in a pretty big way, and we kind of came to them last year and set up a booth and looked around and made our mind up. And we are really big in the Western United States with an all-natural product for horses. And we're in every major farm store chain in the West. And we had meetings over the winter and decided that it was time that we really start coming into these other disciplines and doing things. And so we're moving east and coming out here. And
well, you picked a good show because I think that attendance was definitely up this year. It's been busy the last couple days.
It's been a fantastic show. And whether you're riding a horse with a barrel saddle or a team rope and saddle or an English saddle, horses are all built the same and they have stress.
So tell me, I'm holding a box and it's called Zestera. So what is Zestera?
Zestera is an all-natural liquid drench down the mouth that neutralizes acid and boosts pH. It also increases food and water consumption, so it's driving the horse to eat and drink. And if a horse will eat and drink through stressful times, we really stand a chance for our horses to come out of it and be healthy and not do some negative things that the acid can produce. An increase in acid can produce and cause a lot of bad things in horses, colic being one of them, ulcers being another one, diarrhea is another one. And Zestera basically sets the horse's system up, brings the excess acid down, brings the pH up so they can utilize, and then it's what we're doing to acid that really drives that horse to think, I need a drink of water. We don't alter the system in any way. And we have been clinically proven to heal ulcers in horses in 28 days. And when we did our studies, we did our studies on race horses that were being loped. And we did cortisol studies and all kinds of stuff on them. And
would you say it's more for performance horses or for any horse?
Any horse, because all horses have stress.
Right.
Our stress as a human is way different than the stress of a horse. And weather stress is the number one thing. And if we all sit and think about it for a minute, when's the number one time that horses colic?
Yeah, when the weather changes. Yeah.
We have a weather swing
recently.
like we had here just a day or so ago.
Yeah.
And so when you get that big swing in weather and the barometric pressure changes and all that, for some reason, horses are prone to colic. And in my mind, it's because of that buildup of acid and shutting off the response to their brain saying, I need to go eat, I need to go drink. Because if a horse isn't eating and drinking, and they're just stressing and building acid, the colic is imminent.
Right.
Ulcers are imminent. It's coming. It's just a matter of when and when they show up. I want to talk about one of the ingredients in this, and that's colloidal silver. Colloidal silver is the only natural antibiotic known to man.
Really?
And Zestera...
Is it silver we think about silver?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So it's an antimicrobial. It fights bad bacteria. And if you think about that for just a minute, that's a huge thing. And that's why our horses end up getting sick, because they pick up a bad bacteria from somewhere, and then they get sick. This product for horses is setting it up to where we don't have to worry about that. It's acting like an antibiotic. It's not taking the place or is an antibiotic. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it acts like an antibiotic. It fights bad bacteria. It drives them to eat and drink. And if a horse will eat and drink through a sickness or a stressful time, we're going to live.
Where can they buy it?
You can go to ProEarthAnimalHealth.com and order it there. ProEarthAnimalHealth.com.
Okay.
You can also go to Amazon. We are on Amazon.
Well, this has been a blast hanging out with you for a couple days.
It's been amazing. You know, we have fun once a month, but we're not seeing each other.
No, it is always more fun to sit across. And I don't get to do that hardly ever anymore.
I know.
But you have booked some terrific guests. Well, there's a lot to choose from.
Yeah, well, you've booked some incredible ones. I'm always like, I wonder who Glenn's going to get. It's going to be really fun, and it's been amazing. So thank you for coming. I know your time is valuable, and we stole you away from Jen and everybody. But
she's happy to get rid of me for a few days.
Well, yeah,
don't worry about that.
I don't want to say that. But. So do you want to take up mounted shooting driving with Schroeder?
I was thinking of that, actually. I was thinking, because he's used to gunfire. We had a gun range at our farm, so they're used to gunfire. I was thinking, I wonder how I could do that. I have to learn how to drive with one hand.
Yes.
Yeah.
You could do it.
I could do it.
But anyway.
And Scooter doesn't go fast anyways.
Yeah.
We'd be the slowest mounted shooter drivers ever.
I love it. That'll give you time to aim.
So if people want to see all the coverage that you did this weekend, where do they go?
They go to @Equine Affaire on Facebook or on Instagram. Hopefully you've been following our stories. We've been posting tons and tons and tons of stuff in our stories. And we'll keep sharing content and new content, and everything we've been shooting here will eventually be up on Facebook and Instagram. So if you want to know what happened here and maybe get excited about coming to Massachusetts or to Ohio next year, @Equine Affaire is the place to go.
And normally you would have your episode coming up very shortly in the next week or two. Obviously, this is going to count for this month. We've done 3. We're good.
You got 3 in a row of us, so you get a little bit of a break.
And you'll be back in May.
Absolutely. We'll have some good guests for you in May.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks,
it's been fun.
Glenn. It's been awesome.